If grandma's giving you $20,000, heck, give her the whole list. Hi you guys, Katie Willeen with Velours Floral Design. I'm glad you're back. In today's video, we're going to be going over a few things with regards to the invitation list. We will be going over who gets to invite, cutting the guest list, and choosing guests. If you're excited for this topic today, give a little yeehaw in the comment section down below. Also, quick note, if you missed yesterday's video, it was the introduction video and it introduced my guide that goes along with this series. So if you didn't get to watch that, I'll have a card on the screen somewhere that you can click and you can go watch that video first, or you can get to the guide in the link in the description box. Okay, the guest list. This is probably one of the most grueling tasks for everyone in regards to their wedding planning. I do want to suggest that this be done before you go get your venue. And my reason for that is you don't want the venue to be deciding your guest list, you want to decide your guest list. And a lot of venues have a cap on how many people can be invited. So unless you've had your dream venue picked out since you were 5 years old, do this first. All right, so the very first part of this whole topic that I want you to consider is who invites the guests. There are kind of two different ways people go about this. One is the more traditional route, and one is more of the 21st century modern way of making the decision. The traditional way to choose who gets to invite guests is the rule of thirds. The thirds are split into the bride's parents, who traditionally pay for a wedding, the groom's parents, and the couple. By this rule, it's pretty fair, and if somebody is getting over on their guest invite list and have people that they absolutely want to invite, say the groom's parents want to invite way extra, this would have to be taken into consideration by the bride's parents, who of course are paying for it. So you don't want to burden the person paying by adding and adding and adding. The other thing you have to take into consideration is if the capacity is available at your venue. But if it's absolutely necessary to the person wanting to invite extra, they can also offer to pay for those extra people. So problem solved. The other way of deciding who gets to invite is who's paying or who's contributing to this wedding. The way I see that rule is if mom and dad are paying, or the bride's parents or whoever, they get to choose and you get to request. If you're splitting the cost, maybe decide, who's paying for what percent, and then that's how many people get to invite. So if bride and groom are paying for, 80% of the wedding, they get to invite almost whoever they want, and you would just give your parents a number of guests they're allowed to invite. If grandma's giving you $20,000, heck, give her the whole list. So the next part of this who gets to invite topic is who doesn't get to invite. The people that I would consider not having any say in the guest list is your siblings, aunts and uncles, other guests. Again, I would say if they're not contributing to the wedding, they don't really have a say. The next part of this video that I want to talk about is cutting down the guest list. Some of the things to consider are, have you even talked to the person in over a year? Mom, I'm talking to you. If you haven't talked to your great uncle in over a year, just don't invite him. Of course, if you have the money and you're just inviting the whole world, go ahead. Another thing to consider is, would I even go out to the bar with them? A really important thing I would listen to is, does your gut sink every time you're next to that person? If so, don't invite them to your wedding. And the other thing you can cut is children and teenagers. This is kind of a delicate thing and really depends on your family or who you are as a couple. So just be careful with that, because a lot of families with children are kind of testy about that. The third part I want to talk about is, who should I even invite? The obvious one, of course, is family and relatives. If you're close to them, you will probably more than likely desire their presence at your wedding. But if you're not close, on the other hand, what do? If you're hesitating to invite anyone, I would just go with the fairness rule. If I'm inviting that uncle, I should probably invite all of my uncles. Another way of deciding if you should invite somebody is if they have declared themselves in some sort of relationship that's serious. Make a rule of maybe 6 months in there. If they've been dating longer than 6 months, invite them. But for sure, things like live-in partners or fiancés, and of course somebody's spouse, it's only proper etiquette to make sure that they are on the invitation. Another group of people to maybe invite are your coworkers. If you're in any way, shape, or form close to them at work and they support you and you enjoy them, maybe you've gone out a few times, then I would invite them. Of course, they're an easy one to cut if your guest list is very small and an intimate wedding. And the last one to consider inviting, if this is important to you, is your colleagues. If you're consistently going to business meetings out in town, or you have a certain professional relationship that you deeply value, then build on that and invite them to your wedding. And the last part of this video is don't feel pressured. Don't feel obligated to invite that person that invited you to their wedding. You don't have to. Some of the things to consider is how much time has passed since their wedding, and have you maintained a relationship since then? Are you even close to them? Also take into consideration the size differences in weddings. Was there a huge wedding and they were inviting a lot of people and you're keeping it kind of on the smaller end? In that case, absolutely not. They don't have to be invited. Also, don't feel pressured if somebody sends you a gift that wasn't on your invitation list. That's a really sweet gesture, and that's very, very common, but that person knew they weren't invited and you do not need to feel obligated to invite them to your wedding. Ooh, and this one, oh my goodness, guests inviting guests. Oh my word. You guys don't know how common this actually is. If you did not put their name on the invitation, so if you didn't say Mr. and Mrs. blah and children or and family, if you just put Mr. and Mrs., they don't get to invite their children. So in that circumstance, if they RSVP with yes plus X amount of people, you have every right to call them and just explain to them nicely that they weren't invited. And the last thing to not feel obligated about is if you do invite coworkers or professional colleagues, you don't have to invite every single one and you don't have to feel bad about it. This is another circumstance where I would consider the closeness factor. Are you close to them in any way, shape, or form? Do you talk to them regularly and enjoy them and enjoy their presence? Do you think they're gonna be there for you in your marriage, etc.? And that's it, you guys. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and comment below what you enjoyed most, or if you got any ease out of this or relief. Because that's my number one goal with these videos, is that you were able to relax a little bit by some knowledge or some pressure that's been relieved. Also, if you're sticking around and you haven't subscribed yet, push the subscribe button, push the little bell notifications, so that way you're informed when my videos post. I'm trying to do them really early in the morning, around 6 a.m., so if you're up, you can come watch it. And last but not least, share with your friends that are planning their wedding, because I'm going to be providing a lot of good resources for them. That being said, I will see you tomorrow. Bye!